And you know
So this is Sarah. She is with the center, and she's gonna kind of give some. We'll say a few words tonight.
Thank you guys for being here. It's usually Lisa. I think the only one of you I don't know is Kira, but we met at the check-in table. I know everybody else. Deborah, welcome. Good to see you. We are so thrilled to have you all here every other month. We are so grateful. I know Alana's going to do this too, but the committee who puts these together, we're so grateful for all of you for bringing your voice to CAE. When Lisa came up with this idea of these artist forum, it was wonderful. And she and I were planning them. And then I don't know if it was you, Alana, or who said
No,
to
she
her,
asked me.
we need some artists
Yeah.
to tell us what they want out of artist forum. So it's been, we're so grateful for all of the work that you all put in. And we're thrilled to have Barb and Phil here. I was telling them, I first met Barb and Phil when years ago, Ann Vikstrom wrote the arts column for the Canadian Courier in town. And when Ann retired from that, I took over for her and I wrote the arts column for 10 years. And that was when I first met Barb and Phil, writing about Weekend in the West and writing about all of the wonderful things that took place in and around Evergreen Fine Art Gallery. And as we know, they are the previous owners of that gallery. And Pam and I were talking about what an influence the two of you had on so many artists in Evergreen and names that you now recognize throughout Evergreen and throughout Colorado that came to the forefront because of the two of you. So thank you for the impact that you made on Evergreen, and I'll hand it to Alana, who will then hand it to Barb and Bill.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's a great introduction to Barb and Bill. Yeah, so, but thank you all for coming, and they're gonna tell us, well, I talked to Barb today, she said they've been walking down memory lane. And so we're gonna hear the story of owning and operating a fabulously successful art gallery. So
We
if
appreciate
you
it.
ever got to go to their gallery, you know what I'm talking about. It was a
We
journey.
appreciate that. Thank you for inviting us.
Yes.
The gallery business really was not what we started out with in Evergreen. We are the original owners and developers of the little office complex at Hilltop and Highway 74, known as La Plaza, the little two-story stucco buildings. So we built a building for a woman that started the gallery. And I will let Barb give us more information on that. We had a wonderful time doing what we did, but
All good things.
it was one of those things that we just kind of fell into. And this is how.
It all started with, do you remember Virginia Rooney? She started in that little stucco building on the corner of Hilltop. And she did so well. She had a little kind of gift shop, art, some jewelry. It was just miscellaneous. But she was such a salesperson. She did so well that she one day asked us if we'd build her a building because we had an empty lot down in this corner. And so we talked to her and to her husband. And we thought, okay, we'll do that. So we built that building for Virginia. She got to design it, lay it out as a gallery. And she was there for 10 years running this beautiful gallery. She had art, she initiated the Evergreen Age, I remember that, that's still going. And which is a wonderful thing for, and some of the money from that went to hospice, to Mount Evans. And so it was a wonderful thing. It was a great thing for the gallery because it was kind of a thing to bring people in. It was wonderful. So anyway, she ran there for 10 years. And then at a certain point, she had some problems in her life and so forth. And her father was very ill back in Alabama, so she moved away. And she tried so hard to sell the gallery. And it was 2008, the recession year. So she couldn't sell the gallery because she had to move in. She was a dear friend and we understood. And I was like, what are we going to do? I turned to Phil, I said, you know what? We're either going to have a big empty building of 6,400 square feet, 2 stories, or we are going to run another gallery. What do you want to do?
That's how we got into the art business. As Barb mentioned, it was 2008 and things were not very lively. We were not very smart to do what we did. But we have been avid collectors for all of our adult lives. And I think I was a collector from the time I was a little child. So we knew a number of galleries and gallery owners, and we knew a number of painters. And so we thought we knew everything there was to know about marketing. And we jumped right in and suddenly realized that we really didn't know anything and that we really needed help. Along came a lady by the name of Kimberly Moore, who some of you may know or met. At that time, she was a representative of Southwest Art Magazine. And the dear Kimberly just took us under her wing. We traveled with her. We went to other galleries in New York, Arizona, Mexico, Wyoming. She took us to shows. She just introduced us at a very high level to not all, but many of the leading galleries in the region and in the country. And from all of that, we're like sponges. We just kept absorbing what we saw, what they were doing, how they were doing it. We realized that none of them had as much square footage as we had in Evergreen fine art. Some of the largest and most successful galleries in the country have 2,000 square feet. We had about 6,500 levels. And so trying to draw people into Evergreen and to create something that was a really interesting venue caused us to really wind up spending a lot of money advertising nationally on a monthly basis, not only with Southwest Art Magazine, but we moved into other magazines. Very costly procedure, but one that eventually paid off because our marketing really reached people all over the country. In fact, outside of the country, we often ship paintings to Europe and other offshore countries. And the other thing that's kind of interesting is that Evergreen gets a lot of visitors. And our visitors are all from somewhere, or I should say most of our residents are from somewhere else, as are the visitors. And so they always take a tour of the town. They would come to the gallery and oftentimes the visitor would want to take something home. So that's really what resulted in some of the sales to Europe, I recall, to England. And so we had that advantage. That was a really nice treat. Anyway, we began to build a business and we began to realize that we needed to create unusual events and things that would bring people in. Or you can help me remember a couple of those, but
Well, we had a lot of parties. We tried to have an event every month. And that was a lot of work, but anyway, we did it. We had a huge staff. We had 2 salaried people, framer, full-time framer, full-time bookkeeper. And then we had ourselves, and then we had part-time people and part-time staff, just sales staff. So we had a big staff, a big building. So it was a lot to take care of. As Phil said, we traveled a lot with Kimberly Moore. We decided that maybe Evergreen needed to know more about art. So we decided we had educational, like lectures and things like that. And then Pam came in and helped us with organizing some classes. The artists would teach classes upstairs. And we did that. And we always gave them one sheets at the end of the day and help relax about things. Right? And then we also built a sculpture garden. We had a great big detention pond on the property. This great big thing, we're using. So we put a path around the bottom, gravel path. We electrified it and we put sculpture up there. We said a lot of sculpture. So that was a big because those are big sales, they were good. And we had a big space out in front and the side of the building to display the sculpture, so we had some big pieces. I remember sending one very big one to, what was it, New Orleans, never that one Patty Steak
Oh,
Bar,
yeah. That is state.
It's amazing.
Huge tractor and trailer, it's great thing.
Many things.
Eagle, I think you remember that chain, was that?
Yes.
Yeah, that was when I went to Texas, right?
Maybe, well,
And then we sent another one. Yeah,
Anyway.
anyway. So those things happened. Then we got a little lucky and in 2013, we somehow got the Oil Painters of America National Show. And boy, that was something else. That brought in some great painters and some big buyers. So we got to know both the artists and some of the patrons. Weekend in the West. Did everybody go to that? Okay. That was derived from kind of, it was kind of a takeoff of the show, the Buffalo Bill Cody art show, in Cody, Wyoming. And so, and it was kind of patterned after that, not really because they had more space and that sort of thing, but we had the quick draw of the artists outside in the sculpture garden in the garden. And of course, that was neat because everybody would come and watch an artist paint and they say, oh, I'm gonna have a painting, I watched it bored, you know. Then they would after it was an hour and a half. I think. Then we had a big tent in the back of the property, very big white tent. And we sold tickets to this. We had an auction and a brunch. And with the brunch, we had
yeah,
mimosas.
so don't forget to mention.
So everybody got real happy. Yeah. And we had some great auction, made a lot of money. And every year we had somebody that would benefit some organizations. Sometimes it was the Center for the Arts. We did Mount Evans, we did Bootstraps. And it was, so people felt good about it because part of the sales went to one of these great nonprofits. So that was Saturday. Let me back up. The artists would come into town usually on Thursday. And we had conned some of our patrons into lodging them because, you know, Covered In wasn't built then, there was much lodging. And the patrons and the artists loved that. And we had some at our house, we did 5 or 6 meals sleeping
Yeah,
downstairs.
I'm sleeping on the floor. Under the carpet.
And they were more fun, it was great. And so that was Thursday. And they came in, oh, and then we'd also have a party at our house. And we'd have some, but 10 or 12 of our really good buyers and the artists, and they all get to know each other. And that was kind of good for everybody. It was neat. Then Friday, we would have this, we would probably set up the gallery on, we'd hang on Tuesday, Wednesday. People would come in and preview. But we would let them buy for the show. And nobody could buy anything to use preview. So Friday night, we would have a big show and party. Lots of booze and lots of eats and so forth. And we would keep the door closed until the time it started. We would send Doug out with a tray of wine. And so front door would be locked, back door would be locked, and at proper time, both doors would open, and people would just rush in. They had already picked out a painting, and sometimes two people want the same painting. It was just a run. We gave them all red stickers and go around, put their sticker on, and come bring them, come bring them to us. And let's see, then Saturday was the quick draw and the auction. And let's see.
If I could just interject,
Right.
if there are any questions or anything along the way, we're happy to just make this conversational.
We put up the artists in the collector's houses. You want to hear that?
We con some of our, friendly callers. And doing that, they loved it. They would get to know the artists. Of course, they have the artists. It worked out for everybody, and everybody really loved that. And I might also mention, if you went to Weekend in the West, you saw some people brought horses, and the artists would paint them. And we had some models there sometimes. One year we had some ballerinas inside the gallery. Go in there and paint those. And we just artifacts and things like that for them. So, you know,
So we had riders in Western gear and,
Or the flamingo dances, I remember.
oh, I was gonna talk about it.
Yes.
I can't remember, one of our artists belonged to a tango.
Yeah,
It is tango. Yes.
Terry Lombardi, right, yeah. So she talked us into having a tango night.
It's great.
Oh, that was viable. A lot of sangria went down.
A little too much sangria, I think. You know, it was fun with the dancers, the women all dressed in their tango costumes and.
She had a whole crew of all the dancers. remember?
They were all sitting around the main room there.
We did all kinds of crazy things. And then one time we had a show, we had dueling paintbrushes, we had Paul Ho and Kevin Wetcroft, and they were both painting on the same painting. And wow, but then it was over and we auctioned it off and we made them a lot of money.
Well,
Because that was
and
quite a
I'll
feat.
never forget
Great
that.
provenance.
It so mesmerized a young couple that were just newly married. It's the first painting we ever bought. And they've got a really valuable painting.
Spent the down payment on the first house.
So did you feel like, that, I mean, you worked very hard doing this. And do you feel like it was profitable for you as hard as you worked? I mean, was that worth it to work that hard? Did you just enjoy it? And
We had so much fun. We loved the artists. We got to this, you know, of course, we loved art to start with.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you one thing. One day I said to the hospice people, you know, you're the biggest nonprofit in town. But we're the second biggest.
Yeah, Jane, it's a lot of hard work. It's rewarding.
Yeah.
It's educational. You create a lot of good friends, as Barbara said, both painters and collectors. But especially for the size of the business that we have.
Yeah.
And all that staff.
If it had been half that size or 20% of it, so it would have been a lot easier to deal with. But it was a lot of work, and to begin with, we had to put a lot of money into it to get it rolling. But we paid our bills. We never reneged on anyone.
Yeah.
We were always very prompt and, yeah, maybe getting a little bit ahead here, and hopefully we can give you some things that might be helpful as you move through your careers. But one of our top priorities, whether we got paid or not, was to make sure that our artists were paid immediately. We never withheld anything from any. They were paid within 2 weeks. I think.
Staff and artists.
Yeah, right. So, and we've heard, and you probably have all heard too, horror stories of what some of the galleries do to people. You'll go in and discover that 3 of your paintings have been sold and you've never been told about it, nor have you been paid again.
And then
We were not that kind of good. So anyway, it was hard work, but it was very rewarding. We look back on it fondly. We just got really tired.
I got old, tired.
After 9 years, and by that point, the gallery was 25 years old. Virginia had come back into our lives. Although she was living in Alabama, she had a close relationship and friendship with the family that owns and operates the Abar A Ranch in Wyoming.
Yeah, they're in the gates.
Oh, okay. What a nice operation, just so beautiful.
They have their own airstrip.
Yeah, they don't know.
And so I don't know how it happened, but they talked Virginia into coming out for the summer and managing the diner. So she did that for, I think, 3 years. And in the second year, she said, you know, I need some art in this dining room. So we started taking gallery art up. We met in Walden. She'd come down and meet us. And we'd exchange. We do this every couple of weeks. And she if you didn't know Virginia, she was one of the world's
Yeah.
greatest salespeople, right?
She
She loved to tell a story of a couple that were guests at the ranch. And they had a table for two next to a column, I think it was. And she had a painting on there. They kind of admired it and looked at it the first night they were there. And didn't say much, but Virginia picked up on that. The next night, their table was relocated in another area. And so was the painting. And lo and behold, they won it.
Story along with that, keep yourself good. Really up with, they had their own landing strip.
Right.
People were flying in and they're flying. And she would have one of my doors up there, she wanted this guy to buy it. She ran out of the one that was stopping.
Well, he said, if you get on my plane, I'm buying it.
Well, Pam, I have that wonderful painting of you, of a fisherman in the middle of the South Platte that you did for us. Yeah. So that is a special place.
That is a good place.
And that was a very unusual situation. I don't know many people get a chance to market that way. It was really, and you've stayed there and you've been there. Yeah.
Did you buy a painting?
Maybe I'll make them ride if I go escaped. Can I ask a question? So there are some new, I've been around for 30 years, but I've gotten more involved in the last few years, and I'm aware of 2 galleries of late that are beautiful art, and both of them. And I'm not sure why. It's a little perplexing to me because it seems to me that we have a lot of visitors, a lot of people coming to Evergreen for all kinds of arts events. And yet apparently they weren't doing very well. So, you know, do you have any ideas about what makes a gallery more successful? And I don't think it's just the art in itself. It seems to me you're saying it's a lot of ways to bring people in, or what's it?
Well, you know, as we did things like have shows all the time. People come and they bring their friends and people visiting, that sort of thing. We never did a small ad. We always did full page ads because we thought nobody's gonna see a small ad mixed up with everybody else's. We always did a full page one. And we did that every month. And so, and that was expensive.
Where were you advertising Southwest?
Southwest Art, Western Art Collector, Art
Okay.
Concert,
So that was 3 big art magazines that you were at.
and we didn't do much local advertising at all. But go ahead.
Well, Nicole, I don't mean to be negative, but I do think that in general, our young people are not as interested in art as we might. Art is hardly taught in schools anymore. It's just not something. Art was in my life from the time I was a little kid. I don't think that's true in families today. I think there's a basic change there, which is unfortunate. We need to do more. I don't want to get on my soapbox, but we need to talk to school boards about getting art programs back in place.
Yeah.
Seriously. It's a very important part of our education.
That's why this place also been moving right.
Absolutely.
Because they can bring these young people in and introduce them to art.
Right. Right.
It's critical.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
That's the only reason, but that's probably a big one.
Well, it's not the only reason.
And what was it? Was the inflation, COVID, things like that. Everything seemed to happen the last few years. I don't
And
know.
I think I've heard that it's hard for galleries to keep employees, particularly
You know,
That's right.
the sales, somebody up front.
Yeah,
People.
and knowledgeable people,
Yeah.
people that have enthusiasm for art. Are just there for a job.
Did you find that online shopping hurt you, helped you? I mean, could it be that?
Well, probably wasn't that prevalent as much then.
No, but we were amazed though at some of the sales that we did make. Sight unseen, online, expensive paintings, 25,000 and up. That were shipped to Texas or shipped somewhere else. And I always thought, oh my gosh, that's gonna come back. But nothing ever came back. It really amazed me. Really amazed me.
Yes.
So I can say one thing that I noticed about you guys compared to other towns, just what you were talking about in your events, an event every month. And I also remember that you would switch the artists. You didn't just focus on one artist or two artists, you would switch the artists around. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well,
Go ahead.
No, but Pixie, it is true. I mean, we made a big effort to have something every month. Whether it's an educational event or a sales event. They were all focused toward mentioning sales, of course. I'm not sure that every month we had a individual show for a featured artist. But we did that,
There's some reason to have a show.
but we'd have a show of some sort, like the tango show. Like, we had
That's a little crazy.
Like what show was that?
Tango.
Oh, the tango. Oh, so that was all on its season. That wasn't in, with our weekend of the West.
No,
No, that was a separate.
That was a separate show.
and we had told the artists that they brought in like tango artists. And things. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I said, I'm just glad to sing.
Wow.
Okay. Gabriel Hadley. Somebody.
The gallery had another advantage in a sense that we had a very large jewelry section in addition to the Evergreen Angel. And some very well-known custom independent jewelry makers, both local and national. And that led to another party. It sounds like all we did was drink. Maybe that's what I was saying. One of our jewelry vendors, creators, wanted to bring in some models to model the jewelry. And we thought, well, that's a great idea. So she had several friends, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them, very, very attractive women. But one of the girls had a friend who was a distributor of vodka. And he provided each of them with their own little supply, unbeknown to us. And they kept going into the back office. Wasn't sure what was going on, and then all of a sudden the models just got a lot of life. I'm sorry.
But you know, she's always a lot of top jewelry then.
Well,
They must have shared that vodka. I don't.
we did send them home a little early.
Yeah, I think they was. Oh, let's see. Mission delegate. Oh,
Oh, the delivery piece, you can, yeah.
well, one day, so this is,
Kim,
yeah, Jerry Kim.
here it is. Yeah.
This was before Weekends West. We had had a show and we were hanging the show, I guess. And in walks Gary Kim. Do you know him? Yeah,
He's a Santa Fe artist.
Yes, and Gary in Santa Fe.
Okay.
And he mostly does aspen trees and these good artists. Anyway, in comes Gary Kim. He had brought up in his truck. He somehow got hold of a fiberglass
Well,
full-size.
he wanted a surprise.
Well, whatever. A full-size horse. And he, was just white. And he came, one side was all cowboys and the other side was all Indians. It was beautiful. I got a picture of Carol, check.
And that was in your mouth.
Yeah, it took a lot of space. You do? It's great, it was beautiful. Well, anyway, I'm like, what in the world? Who's gonna buy that? And finally got a brainstorm. We had a friend from,
It was right, tell them it was priced at 45,000.
yes, yeah, so that too. And so I thought back, then I thought, this dear friend of ours, back from our real estate days, had just bought a ranch in Oregon. And she had a lot of money, she liked art, she liked us. So I said to Kathy, who worked for us one day, the day that
Our assistant.
yeah, we started this. Anyway, I said to Kathy, now there's one person in the whole world that they could buy this. Gotta sell it to her. She's coming in for lunch tomorrow. She's flying in. She had her own flight. She's flying in. So anyway, so Kathy at lunchtime, they came to the gallery first, and Kathy took her by the arm and took her around the horse and said, you know, told her how beautiful it was and so forth. It was, yeah. So we all went to lunch. And Betty loved Grey Goose vodka. And Betty had 2 for lunch. And on the way out, she said to Phil, how to buy that horse if you'll deliver it? We said, sure. So, so we, yeah,
It's a life-size horse. We wrapped it in foam and black plastic, but you could still see the outline of the animal standing up in the back of the pickup truck. And we headed out for Medford, Oregon. And it happened to be the weekend that all the bikers were coming back. So every time we stopped at a gas station, we'd be surrounded with bikers saying, what's under that canvas? You're using that horse.
I will find it and I'll pass it around.
But anyway, we got it safely to Medford and delivered to her new ranch home, and it had a very prominent place
Well, I've got a picture of it out there on the
on the deck. She had it out on the deck, and it, you know, I don't know what's happened to it. She has since passed on, and I don't know whether it went to a member of the family, or they sold it, or what happened to it, but that was another one of our goofy experiences. Yes, sir.
As you guys were art collectors, art lovers, and also business people, so when you decided on artists you would work with, was it based on whether you liked the artwork or whether you knew their artwork to be commercially successful, or how did you balance it?
Well, it was a little of each. Again, we felt that in order to bring people to our gallery, that we needed to have artists that had some recognition, either within the region or national. And what happened too, the momentum sort of built after we got a couple of those people. Others came to us because they knew of our advertising efforts, they knew of our events, and they wanted to be there. So we were able to draw some pretty big names. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. You say not to come you, for game or send to you email with photographs, how artists reach to you, like I want to be in your gallery.
Well,
What do you?
we always ask them, please don't just show up with your art. We'd be busy, and you know, they wouldn't get it, you know, good here anyway. But usually people would either call us or we go after them. If we've seen them in a show or something. We'd have a phone conversation first. We'd look at their art online. And if it looked like something we could, you know, sell for them, that would all work out, we would talk, and that's mainly how we got people.
So you say you look at say a mark on like now, like Instagram, is it the what's the place for your website?
Or website?
Yeah.
Was it a website there?
We went to take a good look at their art.
What Instagram?
Well, there was Instagram then. Either an email was, something, then we just wanted, or the website.
Websites. Yeah, or she said if they sent an email that had their, could be an email directly.
And speaking of relationship or the gallery's relationship with the artist, it's really important to have a very good written agreement between the artist and the gallery. Spells it all out, how they're gonna be paid, when they're gonna be paid, and you obviously need to live up to it if you're a gallery. But,
So I wanted to ask specifically about that. When you said that the collectors who sometimes post the artists, that was really shocking to me. Because from like tiny, small size amount of experience galleries, they're very protective over their collectors. Fewer of the artists are really encouraged or even allowed to communicate with your collectors. The people that are purchasing. And so how does that relationship work for you guys? I want to have a relationship with that gallery.
it worked very well. We trusted our artists.
Yeah.
They always, everything that they sold went through our gallery or through the other galleries that represented them. They had reached a level where they were not interested in having their own studio where they saw people and sold work. They recognized the importance of a gallery and what it could do for them.
But was that established through a contract or was that just so you guys are fabulous?
No, I mean, it was a little of each. I think as time went on and we began to know each other better and trust each other, the contract became incidental. But in the beginning, it was good to have that there. No, most all, I can only think of one incident, and it wasn't serious, but there was a misunderstanding. But overall, we never had a problem with that. We wanted our collectors and our artists to know each other. We thought that was very important.
It is.
Yeah.
They're buying a part of that artist.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, the question that was raised is actually a very good one, particularly for people like me who are new to the art world. Because a lot of galleries will say, well, we only carry established artists. And I kind of got that when I approached the gallery. And so I realized pretty quickly that if I had any chance at all, I had to present a business model for why they want to carry me. So I wasn't discouraged when I was kind of rudely turned away at first. And luckily the person managing this gallery had seen my website and like, but I still wasn't new, so it's not like I have a track record. But I did realize that to get in, I had to do that. So when I met with the gallery manager, who did call me back, actually coming to the top, I was like, well, let me give you 3 reasons why you may want to carry me. And there are always these reasons. So, unfortunately, I think as artists, we'd like to think that just someone looking at our work will be enough that they're like, wow, let me carry you. But, the reality is business.
But on the
I don't know how you balance
I
it.
think it's a combination of both, talent and maybe name recognition. But I don't know how we look. I think you when you interviewed an artist and looked at their work, those things just sort of came together. And it didn't always mean name recognition. If you recognize someone as a really good painter, regardless of how long they were painting it, that didn't ever, I don't think we ever really asked about that, how long have you been painting? That reminds me of oftentimes a new buyer or collector would say to a painter, how long did it take you to do that? And the answer, a lifetime. Right?
So
get from you that you really learn a lot from Kimberly Moore taking you around, because you guys fabulous work in the gallery. And I'm sure that took a while to develop that aesthetic and see what quality really is. I had a mother-in-law, ex-mother-in-law, who took Mrs. Kimball around to New York, the grandmother did, to New York, and all places, and educated her on art. And that ended up turning into the Kimball Art Museum. And there's letters and all, my goodness, she was an artist like Virginia, and took her around shopping. And now they've got this fabulous museum that stemmed from her teaching her.
Wow.
So I see that as happening. Yeah, I think a lot of galleries, you go and you know, what if they show here? But to have somebody like that to really take you by the hand and train you.
Yeah, she helped a lot, yeah.
And are you still in contact with them?
With Kimberly?
I haven't.
She's down in Beaumont, and last year, I don't know if she did it this year, but last year, he had a great art show down there.
Really?
And the artists would come, they painted people's yards, that you just drove all over.
Oh, cool.
Where is this?
Beaumont, where Kimberly Moore moved to, she used to live up here.
In Belmont?
Bill Murray,
Belmont.
around the
That's
lake.
Beaumont, Belmont.
She was the director here.
Oh, that's right, she was.
And she had a little gallery in Evergreen. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you have a lot of things on your list there.
Well, we've gone through a lot of them here. Let's see, what other nutty things do we do, Bob? Oh, the Raptor, we had a Raptor show.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow we got involved with the Raptor organization, but I don't know the name.
But anyway, they brought up live hawks and eagles and they were all around the gallery. Our feeders were picking their subjects, and that was a fun night too. So,
Well, I mean, I think we did that 3 years in a row.
yeah, we did do that. So,
And he would bring the kids, of course. It was really fun.
And were they painting the birds on location?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Big eagle, big,
They moved.
with their wings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another thing that relates more to the center here too was that as a fundraiser, we and I can't remember exactly where the students came from, but I think it might have been Marshdale, or it might have been Bergen
Sometimes
Elementary.
I think we changed.
Maybe we changed. But this was leading up to Weekend in the West, and it was a fundraiser for CEA. Or CAA, excuse me. And the kids did a plastic plate.
Well, no, wait, they did drawings.
Well, but
We juried it.
didn't they do it on a plate, on a plastic, I mean, on a
That-
cardboard plate?
Yeah, they did.
Yes, they did. Yes,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah,
No, wait, but before we did the plates, they would do a drawing and we would spread them all out.
yeah,
I believe all of us would help. And we jury and we'd pick out the best ones. And then we had them transferred to a plate.
Like a porcelain.
Yeah.
yes. those are gonna show you.
Yeah, the fun part of that though, was, and the artists doing this is the same time. And then you have the 10-year-olds doing it, and the 10-year-olds know better than the
Some of these are so great.
Yes.
And we ended up, we have, so we brought it up with that.
So this was patterned after a very successful fundraiser that has been in existence in Santa Fe for a number of years. And we could never really, just never got off the ground. And but they were available for sale.
It was a silent auction, of course, parents bought it.
And the backside says that it's from Weekend in the West in the year and so on, and the kids loved it. It was a good project,
It was. It was
but
fun.
it's just never, I don't know what we did wrong. We just couldn't get it going.
So for a
But anyway,
fundraiser.
we have 8
Yeah,
plates here.
this is
that-
silent auction, they raised them.
Okay.
First time.
We have 8 plates here that we want to give you. And you can do whatever you want. So.
Tonight.
Is
To
it?
the center.
Prizes, I don't know, whatever you want.
We'll be good company here.
Wow, everyone's different. They're just. Yeah.
Put them in. Okay, you are. Yes, oh, that's.
Some of them are pretty sophisticated and some of them.
What?
Oh, you want to say, oh,
Sorry.
skip this.
Anyway, we can kind of wrap things up, but
No, we've got time.
Anyway,
we
yeah.
do have a,
Make sure to get through what you want.
we out of fatigue. In 2017, we closed the gap. We tried to find a buyer. We actually had a buyer. We got a gallery in Sedona and one in Park City. And a professional gallery operator. And he really took a long, hard look at Evergreen fine art. But he finally came to us, and I don't say this with much pride, but he said, I don't want to work that hard. Because in Park City and in Sedona, you are on the main street and you open the doors in the morning and 500 people walk through the day. If we had 5 people walk through the day, that was a lot. So we decided that rather than see the gallery just run downhill and all of our wonderful, hardworking artists, just be demeaned in that way, we decided it was best just to close it. So we did. And a month ago, we finally sold the building. Which we've been feeding for a little while. Anyway, on the positive side, there are a few little things in our, we can share them. We don't have a whole lot of advice really. I still feel like we're novices at the business, although we gave it everything we had. But as far as recommendations or suggestions or things that we have seen, I think one of them is to get all of the art education that you can get. Seek out painters that you admire and that have maybe been at it longer than you have, and you can learn from their techniques and their experience. And Pam Dunn is one of our good instructors. And I don't mean to not mention anybody else. I don't know all of you well enough, but I know Pam used to teach at our gallery, and he was always well attended, and you always filled the classroom.
He still does. And one great thing about it, I must say, I used to tell artists before we had a show. Now, the laws of karma are very strong. Do not disparage anybody else's work ever, and help your fellow artist sell his work, and he'll do the same for you. And Pam is the example of that. He would go around and tell other people's art. He was one.
That's really important.
He was a good sense.
They came from that.
Yeah.
And, you see, you get old enough, you see them. But there's often competition between the artists and they were more interested in going your own. So when you start working in your gallery, it's exactly the opposite. That they had, so the artists really were, they thought somebody standing before somebody else was painting, there has to be someone else painting. They were really working on the painting, and it's result, everybody benefits from that. That's kind of their way of working.
A lot of friendships were made, whatever.
No, and I would suggest that you enter competitions, you enter contests, or just get your name out there. Join national organization, watercolor clubs, oil painters, the various national organizations that are out there. They have events all the time. They're promoting their membership. They're very helpful. They really are. Those are good groups. And I think we touched on this, but just staying in touch with your collectors. Doesn't always have to be related to art. You can have them over for a glass of wine some night or whatever. Those are just, I think, important things. Framing, we feel, is extremely important. And that's because perhaps we have a frame shop and we're a little prejudiced, but there is no reason to believe that, with all due respect, that an artist is a good frame. They're separate functions. Most framers can't paint. And so most artists really can't frame, to be very candid. Spend money on a good frame and it will enhance your work immeasurably and add to your sale. It really is very, very important.
And one little word of caution, this may be a fetish of mine, but be careful about black frames. They sometimes just destroy a painting. And Phil said, you invest some money. A good frame is like a good hairdo. It makes your painting. It does. Bill and I buy paintings now and we say sell to us without the frame. We go out the frame because the frames usually are very bad.
Oftentimes, many of our really top artists who bring in work that was just whatever they found in the corner that fit that particular canvas, and we reframe them. It's very important. The eye, you think they're looking at just the painting, but they're looking at the whole thing. And very important that frame doesn't interfere, but enhances what you've done.
Well, and one painting in particular was in our gallery for about a month. One of our better artists who never brought a good frame in, but anyway, it was gorgeous, big mountain scene, beautiful. But it was in a black frame and sat there. Finally, I said to Neil, our painter, let's put a gold frame on this. See what happens. Oh my gosh. The colors came out. It just changed the whole aspect of it. It is hanging over our Medlin thing right now.
And so right away.
It's we had a deal
What a surprise.
staff or we couldn't buy anything for 30 days. 30 days. We framed it. Gotta have that. But it's out there. And this painter's paintings always sold immediately. Anyway, sorry about that one. One thing I might advise a new artist, maybe an older artist, third bookkeeping or get a bookkeeper or spend a couple hours with a bookkeeper and set up your bookkeeping system. Because artists, I know, bless your hearts, you're all up right brains. Well, but keep track of things because this is how you're gonna pay your taxes. This is very, very important. Then you'll know if you haven't been paid for something, whatever.
That's why I married a CPA.
Well, yeah, that'd be the best.
You know, we've also seen a lot of good husband and wife teams. And it might have been the wife that was the painter or the husband, but the other one was the marketing agent, so to speak. And they just worked very comfortably with each other and were very good at what they did. And it helped, I think, in the relationship with the gallery, actually.
But you don't have that advantage, at least, hire a bookkeeper for a couple days, couple of hours instead of a system for yourself. It's really important. And your CPA will appreciate that too.
Maybe one last question. Can you speak a little bit to the value of being in a gallery? And nowadays, so many people market their art directly online, or they say, why should I buy it? It costs half, whatever it is, the gallery. I mean, I've always felt that it's important to do so, but I would like to hear.
Yours. The advantages,
I apologize a little bit because I didn't hear everything. I don't hear well.
the advantages of being in the gallery, rather than do it yourself.
No. Well, I think that is changing a lot. We were at a little, actually, Barb and I went down to the Art Students League sale a couple of weekends ago. And I was surprised to see at least one of our artists that was there And said, he no longer sought nor wanted a gallery representation. And he was doing all of his, out of his own studio and going to art fairs. And his opening paintings, they're big, but they're probably start around 10,000. And I was surprised to see that.
But he's established.
He is.
He worked hard for years and years.
Right. And so, but there is, I do think there is more of a movement toward artists marketing their own work on the internet. And I don't know, I mean, I don't know how successful it is. I've always felt like in any business that it's helpful to have the synergy of the others that are around you. And if you're in your studio by yourself and marketing by yourself, you're not getting any real feedback.
Yeah,
I
that's
think-
what sometimes now people go to the shows, art shows, like, we just have in Evergreen some years, so we have, and there you have, you yourself, standing there, people come to you, and they tell you they like this or that, or they talk, and they tell the story, and whatever. So in a way, talking about feedback, you get plans. Or I'm not saying that no good have it's better, no, I don't say that. Because gallery have a circle of people who trust in very open, but need to somebody to tell this is good. Buy this, because most many people who buy stuff, they actually don't know. What's good and what's bad. Yeah, and so then, what I'm just saying, that the feedback is not a kind of part, saying it's hard. The people like in galleries, you have a traditional people who's good at saying, I'm good at being saying is really hard.
Yes.
So,
And you're wasting half your time trying to sell.
yeah, but it's not because of the ways we back, it's about the result. And we did stuff. People trust and people are experts, much more than being there himself. You know, one almost telling everybody, this is good, wow. They did. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Did you? You understand what I'm
I'm not sure we heard your last question there.
I said, Van Gogh was saying people in his book,
Van Gogh.
Van Gogh.
Oh,
He would promote his own self, saying, this is the other people. His brother.
well, I would think for a fledgling painter, it would be very hard to paint and sell your work. I would think you wouldn't be, yeah, have some place where you would have exposure.
Well, exposure actually, as we mentioned again, that there is a day when only 5 people comes and gather. So 5 people, multiply it's the country, how many people in their art show, there is 50 people comes, so the exposure at actual battle. There is nobody who can be an expert.
And you have a lot of competition in that show.
Yeah, absolutely. Competition in that battle is good, that's dangerous. So competition is not good.
I think that's legitimate. I think people see that an artist is represented in a gallery, presents in a gallery.
Yes.
It kind of adds to the confidence and the status of that artist. Even if they do other, you know. But you see that it's worthwhile.
And that's.
Something has excellent, that's people who don't know, but excellent. Is a label, and next, this is a good art.
That is a
The
good,
king that says it is a good art. They say, oh, you know, you basically, that's why it's good. But you know that it's you.
If you
It's not quantity, yes.
advice to young collectors, that is, it used to be, select a well-recognized and reputable gallery. And no matter what you buy, you probably have purchased something from a good artist. So I don't know whether that is still as valid as it used to be, but that was the advice that many people gave to young collectors. Seek a reputable gallery. And you-
Yes,
and
that's where all reality is, gallery, dark, and then buy what you.
Yeah.
Sample, or if you like it,
if you like it and you can afford it,
right,
and you can be sure that you have purchased something that fit the market and you weren't taken advantage of. You know. Yes.
so we have a few more minutes, so. We want to hear everything that you want to tell us, and then if there are any other questions, we probably have about, say 5 minutes.
This has been a lot of fun for us. We have never had a presentation like this before. This is your life and how did you start a gallery?
The best advice we might give is, don't do it.
Yeah. So we can set up an art gallery as a nonprofit. Kitchens are sort of set up.
Right, yeah.
So maybe set up an art gallery as a nonprofit. But I've always said, I think a lot of the centers to take over and do that. Like, you know, and sort of have more workshop and then you're doing. Then you're having all the shows. That's all. Especially when you're promoting the artists.
But we know how hard you all work and we wish all of you success and wish all of you many sales and a rewarding and happy career as painters. It is rewarding. It's very wonderful to see. We have a painter in our own family. It's just fun to watch her grow. Yeah. Thank you.
We've got an instance, don't you? You were gonna talk about November.
Yes, I do. Thank you. There are a couple of things. You might have noticed, we've got, the more studios in Evergreen, coming up this weekend. And, kind of last minute, I know we have other artists that are participating in the I'm sorry. This was a last minute thought, to the people that I know as a friend. And so these are samples of their paintings that will be in the Evergreen studio, and if you don't have a brochure, they take one. Feel free to take one of the books, one of these guys right here. And then I'd like to, I just want to let you know about the November artist forum and Kirk Fry is a professional photographer, and he's going to be giving a talk in November. It'll be November 9th. That's another Wednesday. And I just want to read, we were trying to come up with a title. Did you see it? I read it. I love it. So I want to tell you what we're going to call it. And so this will be the title: One Photographer's Story to Rekindle Artistic Passion by Looking at His Feet. That's interesting. Yes, exactly. And finding wondrous tiny subjects like snowflakes, photographs, snowflakes, water drops, flowers, bugs. And then he told us about one of his photographs where he took a dandelion and organized the seeds and then took a picture of that. So anyway, he's going to be talking about that in November. So we're so excited to hear his story on that. And that's Kirk Fry over there. So he'll be our guest speaker. Kirk is also one of the artist forum committee members as well. And along with Chris Kinky. And well, Ron's not here. well, it's one of my, Jane Christie, she's on the committee, yes. And then I am, so, if you guys, again, we always, ask you to let us know what you want to hear about, and let's see if we can put it together.
And I just want to say thank you to Barb and Phil. Thank you so much for being here. It's wonderful to hear your memories. And I know you shared so many stories about people that everyone in this room knows about. So thank you for that. Come back to see everyone next Friday night if you have any of Rocky Mountain National Water Media, 4 to 7. We have 62 paintings, 21 Colorado artists, 2 Evergreen artists covered that. It's gonna be beautiful. It's all hiding behind those walls. I'm hanging it tomorrow. So come back to that next week, November 4th, which is a Friday night, is the opening of Ken Dunn and Joe Glassmeyer's 2-man show, which was Replying Landscapes of a Lifetime. We're gonna have 30 pieces from each of them. Most all of them will be for sale. If you love Ken's work, if you love Joe's work, come and see their work paired together. It's gonna be beautiful. And then all of you be sure to submit for the member show, because the member show is immediately following Ken and Dunn's show, Ken and Joe's show. It will open the end of November, first weekend of December, opens right before Winterfest. So we'll have a big crowd in here. We had 800 people at Winterfest last year, and the member show will open right before Winterfest. So we'll have a lot of people. We sold a ton of work in last year's member show. And if you are an artist member, you are guaranteed 1 piece in that show, if not more.
We need to submit by
November. No, I'm saying. I'll look. I'll send it all out to you. I have so many dates in my head.
I'm not okay with doing that. So.
No, and just so you know, we are calling the show The Roots of the Place. Tom Goldberg asked me today if we needed to submit photographs of roots. No, you do not. Just the title, it's not a theme, so just give it to your best work. We want to see, that's why we sold so much last year in the membership, because you all just gave us your most beautiful and meaningful work that you've been working on for the last year.
Yes, also, just to remind you all, that Shelley would invite you to the reception for the Open Door Studio tour is Friday night at the bank, at Evergreen National Bank. It's free, we have wine and all kinds of wonderful hors d'oeuvres, and Jeanette smoked salmon for us, and it's really, really fun. So you say that it's open, and you get something, it's just, and it's from 6 to 8. Okay, 6 to 8. So that's lots of them. Then that's same for trying to follow.
Sounds like it.
Yes, right. And each artist that's in the tour will have a piece there. So, okay. Let's see. Okay, it's good. It's that one. Thank you so much. Great. Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you so much.
There it is. I'll be up to everybody. No, wait.
That's on your track to horse and track back.
It was on the.
I'll have to find the video.
There it is in place.
Yeah. I'll turn it the other way and I will turn the phone on. Okay. Oh, usually.
I know.
I made her set up my. Gave her that spot.